What if 3 minutes of thinking about death could actually make you fearless in life? Lucius Seneca, one of Rome's most influential Stoic philosophers, practiced a daily meditation so powerful that it transformed not just how he lived, but how he died. When Emperor Nero ordered his execution, Seneca faced death with such calm that witnesses were amazed. Today you'll learn this ancient practice that can eliminate your deepest fears and unlock unprecedented courage. The philosopher's final test. In 65 AD, Seneca received the news every Roman feared. Emperor Nero had ordered his suicide. But instead of panic, Seneca displayed something remarkable: complete tranquility. He calmly said goodbye to friends, comforted his weeping wife, and even gave philosophical teachings as he died. This wasn't superhuman courage. It was the result of daily practice. For decades, Seneca had spent 3 minutes each evening contemplating his mortality. He called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. But this wasn't morbid thinking. It was the ultimate life hack. By regularly confronting the reality of death, Seneca had developed an unshakable inner peace that made him fearless in the face of life's challenges. The science behind the practice. Modern psychology has validated what Seneca knew intuitively. When we avoid thinking about mortality, death becomes this massive, undefined fear that colors everything we do. We procrastinate on important conversations, avoid taking meaningful risks, and live smaller lives because somewhere in the back of our minds we're terrified of the unknown. But when we deliberately contemplate death, not obsessively but thoughtfully, something magical happens. Psychologists call it terror management. By acknowledging and accepting mortality, we paradoxically become more alive. Our priorities clarify, our courage increases, and our appreciation for the present moment deepens dramatically. The 3-minute practice. Here's exactly how Seneca practiced his evening death meditation. First, he'd sit quietly and honestly acknowledge that this day might be his last, not in a fearful way, but as a simple fact. I may not wake up tomorrow, and that's okay. This acceptance is crucial. We're not trying to control death, but to accept its inevitability. Second, he'd review the day through the lens of mortality. What did he do that mattered? What relationships did he nurture? What wisdom did he gain or share? This isn't about perfection, it's about intentionality. When you know your days are numbered, you stop wasting time on things that don't matter. Finally, he'd express gratitude for the day he'd just lived. Every sunrise, every conversation, every breath becomes a gift when viewed through the lens of impermanence. Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." How death meditation creates fearlessness. When you regularly confront the ultimate fear, death, everything else becomes manageable. That job interview, that difficult conversation with a loved one, that business risk you've been avoiding, none of these can threaten your core being the way mortality does. Seneca discovered that by accepting death daily, he became immune to the smaller fears that paralyze most people. He could speak truth to power because losing his position didn't scare him. He could love deeply because the pain of loss was already accepted. He could take meaningful risks because failure wasn't worse than death, and death was already accepted. This practice literally rewires your brain. When you stop running from the ultimate fear, your nervous system relaxes. Anxiety decreases because you've already faced the worst-case scenario and found peace with it, living fully by embracing mortality. The beautiful paradox of death meditation is that it makes you more alive, not less. When Steve Jobs said, "Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose," he was echoing Seneca's wisdom. People who practice this meditation report profound changes. They have more meaningful conversations because they know time is limited. They pursue their real dreams instead of living on autopilot. They forgive more easily because holding grudges seems pointless when life is short. They appreciate simple moments because they understand how precious they are. Seneca himself lived with incredible richness. He was a successful writer, advisor to emperors, and wealthy businessman. But his wealth didn't define him because he knew it was temporary. His status didn't control him because he knew it would end. This freedom from attachment allowed him to live with authentic courage and generosity. Your 3-minute challenge. Tonight before bed, try Seneca's practice. Sit quietly for 3 minutes and honestly reflect. This day might be my last, and that's okay. Review your day. What mattered? Express gratitude for what you experienced. Don't rush this. Let the reality of mortality settle into your awareness. Start with just 3 nights. Notice how your perspective shifts. Do small annoyances bother you less? Do you feel more motivated to reach out to people you care about? Do you find yourself taking meaningful action instead of procrastinating? Seneca taught us that it is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live. Death meditation isn't about becoming morbid. It's about becoming fully alive. When you accept the temporary nature of life, you stop wasting it and start cherishing it. Subscribe if you're ready to explore more Stoic practices that can transform your life. And tell me in the comments, what's one thing you'd do differently if you truly believed your days were numbered? Because they are, and that's what makes them precious.